Hey there, IELTS friends. So in today's video, I want to talk about what you can expect in each part of the IELTS speaking. Just as a reminder, there are three parts to the IELTS speaking. It happens with a examiner, so you're doing the test with another person, not a computer. Even if your regular IELTS test is a computer-based test, or a paper-based test, regardless, you will have an extra 15 to 20 minutes on probably a separate day. Most of the time, it's a separate day than your paper exam, then your reading and listening and speaking, and your reading, listening, and writing exam. You will have a separate 15 to 20 minutes with an examiner. The speaking exam is broken up into three parts. Part one, which is just general questions about your life, your school, your hobbies, your country. I like to call this the fact section. You don't really have to think too much about or formulate an opinion about something here. You have to kind of recall things. So they might ask you, do teenagers in your country watch a lot of television? And that's a yes or a no. Like, they're not asking you whether you think it's good to watch television, just basic facts. They might ask you to describe your apartment. So you're kind of recalling things as they are. So in this part, it's kind of there to warm you up a little bit. It's considered the easiest part because the questions tend to be simpler. The answers don't have to be super long, and you could most of the time remember the most common questions, which questions do repeat quite often. The first part will probably cover about one or two topics, sometimes three, and it'll last no more than 5 minutes. You will move on to part two, which will be a single question, 1 minute to prepare, and then you have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. So you will get a question on a piece of paper. You will see the question. You will be given a pen and a paper to write down your response, to plan your response. This is not going to be reviewed. This is just for you. You don't have to take notes, although I always suggest to at least write down vocabulary words that you'd like to use. And then after that 1 minute preparation is up, you will have to speak for up to 2 minutes. I always recommend speak for the full 2 minutes. Unless you're repeating yourself, you should be speaking for 2 minutes. And this is the part where they check, can this student speak at length? So the previous part, they were checking, can this student recall common information and speak about everyday facts in English? Here, can the student speak at length? I mean, they're assuming you're going to go enter university, and giving a presentation is a common thing in university. Can they at least give a 2-minute presentation? They'll have to be giving 15-minute, 20-minute, half an hour presentation. Could they do a 2-minute presentation now? That's what they're checking for, your ability to do that. And then whatever the topic is in part two, so for example, you were asked a question about music, right? Let's say you got a question, describe a concert that you went to. Why did you decide to go to this concert? Who did you go with? What was the experience like? And you spoke about it for 2 minutes. Part three will always be related to whatever topic was in part two. Which means that any vocabulary words that you thought of in part two, you could still use in part three if there's a right place for it. So part three is now, unlike part one, which was like fact-based, part three is more opinion and position-based. Can you take a side, or at least even be neutral on, but explain and back up where you stand? So they might ask you, do you think it's okay for artists to be paid millions of dollars for a single performance? So you might be like, yeah, I think, they earned it, they built up their fame, and they should be able to charge whatever they want, and continue to explain your opinion. Or you could take the opposite. Absolutely not. I think it's very ridiculous that these artists are getting paid such enormous salaries while there are many starving children in the world. I don't think that they should be paid little, but I think it has gone overboard as far as like what they're getting paid now. So Remember, part one, fact-based. Part two, can you speak at length? Part three, can you back up your opinion? Can you take a position and support it? So really, that's kind of what they're looking for as far as your responses. Now, they do have also criteria. They're checking your vocabulary throughout. They're checking your grammar. And when I say grammar, I don't mean do you have correct grammar? Do you have correct grammar, and is it diverse? So you could have no mistakes in grammar, but unless you're showing them that you could use different sentence types, that you could use a verb in different ways, for example, sometimes use a complex sentence, sometimes use a but, sometimes use a however. Variety of grammar is just as important as correctness of grammar. And your proficiency and fluency, how smoothly does your do your response come out? And of course, pronunciation. And pronunciation does not mean your accent. A lot of students have an accent and they could still get very high scores. Pronunciation means is what you're saying being matched by the tone that you're using. If you're speaking about a summer with your family, a summer vacation with your family, are you using excitement in your voice? Are you making emphasis on some words? Are you taking pauses? Right? That's just as much as pronunciation. I would say smiling definitely is important if you're talking about something happy. But let's say you're talking about, you really miss your grandparent who passed away. Does your tone change, slow down? Meaning, are you aware of the language that you're speaking, and are you matching the tone to go with it? Yes, of course, if your accent forces you to significantly mispronounce words, that they change meaning, it can hurt you, but don't overthink about accent. Mostly focus on the emphasis of certain words in sentences, the energy level to match what you're saying. Those were just my quick tips to share with you. If you have an upcoming exam, I wish you the best of luck. If you are looking for a tutor to tutor your progress towards a good IELTS speaking score, definitely feel free to reach out to me. If nothing else, have a good one.